What is going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. As we get some people in here, we'll start to set the stage of what today's topic will be about. I want to talk about the quarterback situation. I want to talk about the quarterback situation dating back to like November, December of 2020 and why it matters all the way up until now. It's going to be an interesting one. We're going to take a look back at some of the situations that happened in the offseason that we followed very closely. If you guys are, followers or supporters of the SF Niners, we've been all over this quarterback situation from the start. And so what I want to do is I kind of just want to go back in the time machine, hot tub time machine time. Let's go back and just look at the entire landscape of this offseason surrounding the quarterback position. And then let's come back at the end to decide what we think the quarterback situation really is heading into training camp. Because as we all know, it's a very divisive topic, especially on Twitter. I've always been pro Jimmy. I've always supported Jimmy. Especially with the account, and we are player advocates. We want to stand up for these players, so that's in our nature to do. But again, we're looking at this from an objective situation. We're taking all the information that occurred the last 7, 8, 9 months, and we're going to see how it translates and plays into this situation. I think it's going to be fun. But I also want to talk about really quick before we get into it. Cam Akers was reported to rupture his Achilles. He's a young running back for the LA Rams that was poised to have a really, really big year. That's tough news for them, obviously, as a division rival. It's a double-edged sword. You never want to see players get hurt ever, even division rivals, but you also understand at the same time it does benefit our team, because just like we know when we're injured, we're not playing our best. So it is unfortunate to hear Cam Akers went down. But next man up, Darrell Henderson. If you guys play fantasy, you got to get your hands on Darrell Henderson. He has opportunity to be RB1 next year. So tough news. And RB news surrounding the 49ers. Yesterday, Matt Mayoko on his podcast, 49ers Talk, I believe, with Laura Britt, had floated the idea of potentially trading Raheem Mostert. Well, Raheem Mostert didn't like that too much. And, of course, as I've explained, the SF Niners is a player advocate type page. We're here to support our guys. So when I posted that to Instagram, of course, Raheem saw it. He follows me and interacts with the account regularly. He put in the comments smoke and mirrors, and so he basically saying he doesn't think that there's much merit to those rumors, and or doesn't like the sound of it, and think that there might be something else going on behind the scenes. And that kind of is a good transition into what we're going to talk about today, which again is the quarterback and what is really going on behind the scenes, because it's been a conversation for a better part of a year that 49er fans, whether you rally and support Jimmy, you rally and support Kyle, you support the 49ers, it really doesn't matter where you fall, because we can all take a step back and objectively look at the situation. And so if we take a step back and objectively look at the situation, this really started last year in the 2019 season. For me personally, when I realized that there was something going on between Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo, it was the Dolphins game. I believe that was week 5. I'm not positive. But it was around, I think, week 5, the Dolphins game, the body language between the two, the energy, the vibe. Again, Kyle Shanahan doesn't sugarcoat anything. Even when he's doing his coach speak, he will still find a way to tell you exactly how he feels. And that's one of the beauties of having Kyle Shanahan as a coach, being someone who covers him. And I scout Kyle all the time. I scout his tendencies. I scout what he likes to do from a player person. That's what I'm trying to do. I watch Kyle all the time, because if I'm scouting in the preseason, I have to know how this guy thinks. I have to know what attributes he likes in his quarterbacks, his running backs, his O-line, and all of that to be able to give an objective, accurate opinion of who I think they could be targeting. So for me, I noticed in that Dolphins game, there was something going on. And that was way early in the season. So for me, I started scouting quarterbacks right then and there. That's when I decided, like, okay, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. That to me seemed like a really logical time to be like, okay, there seems to be something here. I'm going to start doing my homework. So I started scouting quarterbacks after that game. Season goes by, season goes through, up and down. You know, he came out, led a couple victories against Patriots, the Rams. He won some games when Jimmy came back. You know, he was in and out with injury. And it was just a weird up and down season from the quarterback position. Obviously, it was a weird season in general. 2020, pandemic, all of it. It's just a weird season on top of the injuries. But there was a weird situation being compartmentalized within the quarterback position. You could see it. It was visible. It was clearly visible. So as the season progresses, right, we get kicked out of Levi's. Shout out County of Santa Clara. 49ers get kicked out of Levi Stadium. They're not allowed to play, again, amidst the pandemic. So they're forced to go to Arizona. As a result, they're practicing in Arizona for an entire month. They're playing a games for 4 months. They have home games in Arizona, all that kind of stuff. Well, what comes along with practicing in Arizona is you have other reporters there that are not affiliated with the team. Again, most of our beat reporters, they were at home in the Bay Area. They did not make the trip. Traveling was not available to most. It was an interesting time. But at that point, it had already been reported that, you know, Jimmy Garoppolo might not be coming back to play this year. Jimmy Garoppolo, it's kind of up in the air. We don't know if he's going to, you know, come back from this high ankle sprain. There's a lot of conversation about, did Kyle Shanahan put him out there too early? There was a lot of conversation about that. And a lot of dialogue surrounding the quarterback position. So, because again, CJ Beathard would come in, Mullins would come in, and it wasn't great. It wasn't great. During the first part of the year, a big portion of the fan base, they were calling for Mullins. They wanted Mullins to start. But when we saw Mullins, the entire tune changed to like, oh, I think we have a bigger problem here. I think we just have a quarterback problem in general. And so that whole year was rocky in so many different ways, but also if you just focused solely on the quarterback position, it was turbulent. It was extremely turbulent. And it was like that throughout the entire year. And so again, back to being in Arizona, back to having no beat reporters there. They had Arizona beat reporters there. And this is where everything changed for me. For me. Again, I told you I noticed something. I noticed a vibe. I noticed communication patterns. It just felt weird back at the Dolphins game. I started scouting quarterbacks back then because I'm like, all right, I scout anyways, so I'm going to be prepared. And obviously it got weirder as the season progressed. And the tipping point for me was when an Arizona beat reporter posted a video of Jimmy Garoppolo doing workouts, doing the warm-up drills, warm-up line with the quarterbacks, with the position groups. And what they were doing was a situation where you're dropping back, but you're twisting your hips and you're twisting your feet. Having a high ankle sprain, it's really easy to diagnose what someone is capable of based on their movement. And what that reporter did was kind of show that, hey, Jimmy Garoppolo's healthy. Because based on that movement, that drill couldn't have been a better drill to indicate if someone is suffering from a high ankle sprain or not. And it sure as hell appeared that Jimmy Garoppolo was not suffering, because the way he was driving off of it, exploding out of it, and doing all of those things. If you can do that right there, why can't you do that in the game? And then that started up a greater conversation. Is Jimmy Garoppolo healthy and not playing? Well, it didn't go heavily reported. And from my understanding, that is indeed the case, is that from the reports that did come out from that, again, like I said, I didn't pick it up. Other accounts didn't pick it up because we knew something was weird. And we weren't really trying to, mix it up even more. So when that whole situation happened, that changed. That was a tipping point for me of like, all right, this seems like both parties are thinking something different, because it was being reported that not only was, it was kind of a agreed upon decision. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to play the rest of the year. And because, again, if he gets hurt, if he gets seriously hurt, you could be looking at another Kaepernick situation where, if you recall, Kaepernick gets surgery late in the year. He's not able to pass. He was either a March 1st or an April 1st physical. So as a result, Kaepernick got a $14 million contract guaranteed. And so the 49ers have experience of being in a situation where they got kind of locked in to a contract with the quarterback based on injury or potential injury. So I really feel like both sides came together. They said, listen, this is a lost year. We're not going to the playoffs. If we squeak into the playoffs by winning our division, we're not going far. So let's put Jimmy on ice for the rest of the year, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. So if you know anything about football players, you know anything about football in general, you don't sit out. You don't sit out if you can play. It just doesn't happen. If anything, it's the opposite. It's a situation where you fight through injury. You fight to get on the field. You fight for your opportunity. So I think that's where everything went sideways. And I think that's where Kyle Shanahan said, you know what? It is what it is. We're on to the next. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo was like, I'm ready for a change of scenery as well. So that's where I'm at. And it's December. It's December. The season it's not over. And I've made the conclusion that both Jimmy and Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan are done with each other. And that, man, I really don't see how Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the team, because the opposite side of that is, you remember the whole Kittle situation. Grant Cohn, shout out Grant, dude. Grant's doing some great work recently. He's doing his heel thing, and he was calling George out. He was referencing, what does his mom think? What does his wife think about him going out there and trying to play when there's nothing to play for? You risk injury, X, Y, and Z. And, we got the great soundbite from Kittle and the great interaction from Grant, where Kittle called out Grant and was like, said something about, oh, you think I should play my little heart out or something or whatever. And Kittle's like, you know what? I'm going to play my little heart out, and I'm going to do that. But that's the point, is like, you have the leader of your team, George Kittle, best tight end in the league, fighting to get back on the field. But then on the other hand, you have the quarterback, who is the leader of the entire team, reportedly putting the season on ice when he could come out and play. It just, is just not a good look. So going into that season or that offseason, to me, we were looking for a quarterback right away. It wasn't a decision. It wasn't like we're going to look around. We're going to see what happens. No. I mean, Kyle talked about it on his podcast, and this is going to lead into a lot of what Kyle talked about on his podcast about being in Cabo, looking at Stafford and all of this stuff. Like, I see Javi out here. What did he say? So I pull up to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. This is end of January. Again, since then, this is end of January. So all of January, the only thing we've talked about is Deshaun Watson. That's it. Deshaun Watson is liking George Kittle fan pages posts. He's commenting on them. He's posting pictures with like 49ers jerseys on. He's doing all kinds. Deshaun Watson was super extra at the beginning of this year because he wanted to come to the Niners. And I truly believe that the 49ers wanted Deshaun Watson. So all of January, that's what we were talking about. We were like, right away, the Deshaun smoke hit heavy. And that's what we were talking about right away in the offseason. And then pull up to Mobile, Alabama, Javi of fourth and gold. Or I'm sorry, not fourth and gold. Man, why am I blanking on your podcast name? Goldmine, 49ers Goldmine. He's a great podcast. He's now working with Niners Nation. He called me because he was in Mobile as well to cover the Senior Bowl. I just walked into my room. Javi calls me. He's like, bro, you're not going to guess what I just heard and who I talked to and what they're saying. And I was like, all right, lay it on me. And that's where the Stafford stuff happened. Straight from Javi. Javi's like, I'm hearing 49ers are going after Stafford tough, and it could happen by the end of this week. And I was like, okay, I mean, I can understand the 49ers being interested in Stafford, but by the end of the week, I've never really heard something like that have a timeline on it. Like, they're looking to move Stafford by the end of the week. I was like, what the hell? So I instantly text my guy. I was like, what are you hearing? This is what I'm hearing. I literally just got to Mobile. This is what I'm hearing. He says, yeah, I'm hearing that too. And on top of that, we're going after Deshaun. And I was like, all right. So the whole Stafford thing, man, that all started in Mobile. It all started with Javi calling me. It all started right there. And then that's when all that smoke hit. All that stuff came out about Stafford. That's end of January. We didn't make it a month. Into the offseason. And we're talking about Deshaun Watson and Matthew Stafford. Well, guess what? If the 49ers were to acquire Matthew Stafford or Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Garoppolo is not on this team. Like, he's cut. Like, if they can't find a trade partner, he's just cut. He's just off the team. They clear the money off the books. But that was part of what we kept hearing. So what we kept hearing is they're trying to trade Jimmy. But they can't find anyone to trade for Jimmy. No one wants his contract. And of course, who would want his contract? He has a massive cap hit. So considering the year he just had, and we can get in real deep into the 2019 if we really want to, but no one wanted Jimmy. I don't think the Texans wanted Jimmy. I don't think Detroit wanted Jimmy. So essentially what it came down to was that last week in Mobile, like, the smoke was insane for Stafford. It was insane. Every day something new came out. Every day. And it all started after Javi called me. And after that, again, I talked about the timeline earlier. Me and some of the boys from 49ers Twitter, I think we had Jason Aponte, Leo Luna, some other guys were there. And we're all just kicking it, having a great time. We just killed Senior Bowl week, came away with great content, great coverage, talking about what we're going to do next year, all that stuff. We're just having a good old time. Just the game was that day. It was over, and we're all celebrating. And then, boom, the Schefter tweet hit where the Rams traded for Stafford. And I'm just like, dude, that was one of the first things Javi told me. He said they're going to try and get this done by the end of the week after the Senior Bowl game. Quote, after the Senior Bowl game. And I remember I was like, that is so weird. Why is there a timeline on it? I was like, that's just odd to me. Why is there a timeline on this? And sure enough, like clockwork, bang, Senior Bowl's over, Stafford's traded. So all of that stuff, and it, of course, has come out, and people have come out to defend Javi and do all those things. That was accurate. All of that was accurate. Kyle Shanahan, we want to fast forward a little bit back to his podcast he did with Schrager and McVay. He talked about how in Cabo, which is a January timeline, of being all in on Stafford, diving into his tape, talking to his agent, trying to get in on this. He admitted to it. Kyle Shanahan admitted to it like 2 weeks ago. So again, it's just again, we come back to Kyle being done with Jimmy. I sensed something in the Dolphins game. We found out in December Jimmy didn't practice or didn't play, even though he could have. Do you see how things are starting to stack up? And then we go into the offseason, and it's Deshaun Watson and Matthew Stafford. Both of those players, if acquired, Jimmy Garoppolo is not on the team. I even wrote, if the 49ers acquire Deshaun Watson, I think they're going to cut Jimmy Garoppolo, because I don't know if anyone wants to trade for him. And I don't think anyone wants to trade for his contract, primarily. So, again, January. I'm like, it's done for Jimmy. Like, Jimmy's days are numbered at this point. And again, comes out again. 2 weeks ago, Kyle wanted Stafford. Didn't get Stafford. Okay. You guys want to talk about what happened after that? We'll talk about what happened after that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up my screen. We'll talk about exactly what happened after the whole Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford saga occurred. Let me get it up here, and then we'll take a look. Okay. I love this thing, man. Someone said I should put this on a shirt, and I'm thinking about it. I want to share my screen. Share screen. Boom. Bang. Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. You son of a gun. All right. Well, that's not going to happen as seamlessly as possible, because apparently I am not allowed to share my screen because. All right. Well, anyways, moving on, since I can't share my screen. If you guys have seen the graphic of all the quarterbacks that I made with Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like the conspiracy wall, and I put all the quarterback faces that would then be tied to the 49ers or rumored to the 49ers. There's like 20 quarterbacks on here. There's Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, Andy Dalton, Teddy Bridgewater. The list goes on and on. The list goes on and on. And I just added to it every day. Every day that the 49ers were rumored to be connected, to be trying to trade for another quarterback, I updated it. So again, this entire offseason, it has felt like, and it sure has appeared, that Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers, are going after a quarterback. So again, they were going after a starter all offseason, because when Deshaun Watson got into legal trouble. 49ers backed out. When Stafford got traded to the Rams, well, clearly they're out. There's nothing that you can do there. He's literally not available, and now he's on a division rival. Do you think Kyle Shanahan was motivated to get a quarterback after his division rival and really good friend Sean McVay was able to acquire a quarterback that Kyle wanted and was after and admitted to going after 2 weeks ago? So at that point, Sam Darnold's smoke picked up. Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah, since early January, they would not stop talking about Kyle Shanahan and Sam Darnold on their podcast. I love those guys. They have great football knowledge and they're plugged in. That's all they would talk about. Every couple episodes, well, don't keep an eye on Kyle Shanahan and Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, they really like each other. Well, guess what? Kyle went after Sam Darnold. And then when that didn't work, Sam Darnold gets traded to the Panthers. Then, but let's back up a second. We get the big trade of, I think it was the Pro Day trade, right? We find out that the 49ers traded up to number 3 at Zach Wilson's Pro Day. So again, we went through the first, I think, 2 months of the offseason talking about quarterbacks and trading for quarterbacks. That's all we talked about. That's all that was getting leaked and reported. It was a quarterback and a starting quarterback, not a backup. Until the 49ers traded up to 3. When the 49ers traded up to 3, the conversation about finding a starting quarterback changed to trying to find a backup quarterback. So enters Joe Flacco, enters Andy Dalton. Gardner Minshew was floated. They were talking about trying to get a bridge guy when they traded up to 3. It changed. It went from trying to find the starter to trying to find a bridge. Because again, Jimmy Garoppolo, a $24 million bridge quarterback, that does not bode well for your books and building out the rest of your team to go and compete for championships. That doesn't work. Somehow Parag's pulled it off. Dude, Parag's a GOAT, man. I know how the players feel sometimes about Parag, but as a fan of this team and what Parag does, manipulating the cap and making it work, woo, he's done a good job. So fast forward again. We're at 3. We're picking 3. We're picking a quarterback. That was, Mac Jones, right? That was the report. Mac Jones. We said, nope, not Mac Jones. Shout out to Senior Bowl. I got to stand 5 feet away from Mac Jones and look him dead in the eye. And I was like, you are not an elite guy. You might be a good quality starter who can make the throws, make the reads, throw with anticipation, do all the stuff you need to do to be NFL quarterback. But he just wasn't one of those guys where I'm like, damn, you're special. He could be special. He could turn into that. He could develop into that. But I'm just looking at this gangly kid, and I'm just like, I don't see it, man. And so we went through that whole saga of who's the rookie we're going to pick. Is it Trey? Is it Justin? Is it Zach? Oh, my God. It's insane. Delta, this will be on YouTube. This will get loaded up to YouTube. I know it's a long one. But don't forget, guys. Don't forget. On draft night, when the 49ers had already decided that they're taking Trey Lance at 3, they'd already decided this. They still called the Packers. to see if Aaron Rodgers was available. They still called the Packers on draft night to get a starting quarterback on draft night. Well, we know how it goes. 49ers didn't get any of the quarterbacks that they tried to get, whether it was a starter or a bridge. They got none of them. They struck out on every one. So they take Trey Lance. Okay, we knew that was going to happen. We knew they were taking a quarterback. We knew that for months. That's all we talked about. It's all we talked about. But again, what we're talking about is what does this mean for week 1? What does this mean for training camp? What does this mean? Like, are we just going down memory lane? No, there's a lot of tie-in here. And so now we know. Now we know. We know who the quarterback is. It's Trey Lance. It's not a question. It's not up for debate. It's not up for speculation. We know who the quarterback is. It's Trey Lance. And what Kyle said in his interview or on the podcast with Schrager and McVay, I mean, again, you guys have to understand how I'm viewing all of this. I'm viewing it through this literally last 7-8 months we've been through, where Kyle has done everything in his power to literally show us with his actions that Jimmy Garoppolo does not have a spot on this team. So again, and I'd like Jimmy, man. I think Jimmy has potential to be a much better quarterback than what we've seen. But I'm not the one Jimmy's got to prove that to. He's got to prove that to Kyle Shanahan. He's got to prove that to the coach of his team. He's got to prove that to essentially his GM who works with him every single day. And so when I listened to that podcast, it just was, again, I'm watching all of this through the funnel of everything that I've just discussed. And he said a lot of things that really stood out to me that made me feel better about Trey and made me feel even more less confident about Jimmy. So I'm going to go. I wrote 3 pages of quotes. I'm hopefully going to try to get through them clearly and try and tie them together so we can have a better understanding of Kyle and what he's looking for. So we'll start with Kyle's philosophies. One of the great things about that podcast is Kyle's talked about what he believes in, makes a good quarterback, what he was looking for when he was trying to pick a job, all of that kind of stuff. And one of the first things he said, knowing and watching his father go through the coaching process and everything and being OCs and quality control and all of that throughout his time in the NFL, he was dead set on going to a franchise that had an established quarterback, and he made that extremely clear. He said that he would not go anywhere that did not have an established quarterback because, quote, if you have one of those top 5 guys, you can survive anything. Again, if you have one of those top 5 guys, you can survive anything. Do you think Kyle Shanahan feels like he can survive Jimmy Garoppolo? Ask yourself that question. Do you think in Kyle Shanahan's mind of the ego-driven, wanting to be known as the best coach, wanting to leave a legacy of greatness behind him, if he doesn't believe in his quarterback, and he doesn't believe his quarterback can take him to the next level, can take him to win championships or be available even, to me, I don't think Kyle thinks he can survive Jimmy. And they came to a decision as an organization to move on from Jimmy. And we'll tie everything back and we'll bring it back. But again, what he was saying was fascinating. It was fascinating. He literally said, I was never going anywhere without an established quarterback. This is a guy who's been grooming himself for a head coaching position his entire life. This guy has been waiting to be a head coach his entire life, and his number one philosophy of getting hired but to a franchise was, I'm not going anywhere unless they have an established head coach. Or I'm sorry, a quarterback, established quarterback. Now, obviously, as that interview, as the process went through and the podcast continued, Kyle went on to talk about how he was going to cancel San Francisco. He wasn't even going to do that interview because San Francisco was a joke. We were a joke. Our defense was historically bad. Our offense was terrible. We just got done getting through one of the last 3-4 worst years that any franchise could go through based on turmoil, leaks, all of that crap. Even as the ball boy, even as a guy who'd been a part of this franchise as a teenager, won Super Bowls, watched his dad win a Super Bowl while he was a ball boy for this team, he still said, I'm canceling San Francisco. Well, he didn't cancel San Francisco. They actually ended up having the meeting. One of the really funny story was he fell asleep before and woke up to them being Jed York, Parag Marate, getting out of the car in the hotel. So what I think really helped the situation in the interview was Kyle was not trying to impress anyone. He went into that situation just like, this is it. These are my issues, and this is why, because I don't plan on playing for you guys anyways, or signing for you guys anyways. Like, so I'll just be honest. And what Kyle said is that situation bonded them together, bonded him and Jed, bonded him and Parag, because Jed was receptive to every issue that he was saying. So Kyle he broke his own rule. He broke his own philosophy to come to the 49ers. He broke it because at the time, 49ers had Colin Kaepernick. I think it was crystal clear that the team was not going to be moving forward with Colin. I had already talked about the issue of Colin getting the surgery, getting his contract guaranteed. The 49ers tried to trade Colin. Colin killed that trade. It's not a good relationship between Colin and the 49ers from a business of football standpoint. So that's what Kyle was coming into. Again, it goes against literally every one of his philosophies that he talked about. But he gets here. And then one of the other fascinating things about his interview was he talked about, again, what he looked for in quarterback. He talked about the Mac Jones situation, why everyone was, connecting him to Mac Jones. He was talking about his personal evaluation of the quarterback. And again, fascinating. Kyle Shanahan talked about what he looks for in a quarterback. He talked about the attributes you need to have. He's like, because again, he said, you could have a strong arm, you can be smart. It's really easier, but it's a lot more than just that. And one of the things that stood out to me, and this is where we're getting in the difference between why I think Trey Lance is absolutely perfect for Kyle Shanahan. He said one of the things Kyle wants, or the multiple things that he wants in his quarterback, is he wants these guys to be able to be in the zone, clear mind, low blood pressure, low heart rate, to be able to play the right way. He mentioned guys like Kobe. He mentioned guys like Dirk Nowitzki, talking about being in the zone. Any athlete who's ever played, you understand what that zone is, and what it is, you're not thinking. You're just moving. All that practice you've done, all the repping, everything you've done, all your preparation just becomes natural. You're not thinking about it anymore. You're just playing. I think one of the things that 49ers fans can be honest with themselves about is when they watch Jimmy Garoppolo play, you don't get that sense all the time. You get the sense that he might not be that clear-minded. He doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look like he's playing in a zone, because we've seen when Jimmy is in that mode, when he's in the zone, coming back against, the Saints at New Orleans, or coming and get back against the Rams, or doing certain things, you're like, okay, there's the zone. There's the clear mind. There's the low blood pressure Jimmy that the huddle responded to, that this team responded to in 2019. But like I said, you go to 2020, it didn't feel right. I didn't see clear-minded Jimmy. I didn't see low blood pressure Jimmy. I didn't see that. And I think Kyle saw that too. So again, what Kyle is saying, he's saying, quote, you can't get too high or too low. And I think with Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he does. I think he gets a little too high or he gets a little too low and things like that. You can even go back to what Kyle Shanahan's press conference was. I posted a little clip of it on Twitter, got Twitter a little riled up. But what he posted, what he was saying on that press conference when they had traded for the number 3, and he spoke to the media after that, and he was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo being mad. He said, I think Jimmy Garoppolo plays better when he's mad. And that's good for us. And we when Jimmy's mad, he plays better. He plays in the zone, clear-minded, low blood pressure. But that got me thinking. It's like, that isn't clear mind. Playing mad isn't clear mind. Playing mad is you're playing off an emotion. And inherently, emotions can get you in trouble. I think we all know this. So I'm piecing Kyle together and putting it on a linear timeline and putting all of this, everything that he says together. So you got right after the 49ers trade to number 3, he's talking about Jimmy. He's talking about him being mad and he wants him to be mad. And that's a good problem for the 49ers. And he had a little slip. And that's what I posted today. Essentially saying why they're done with Jimmy. But he wasn't trying to say it in the sense of like, yeah, this is why we're done with Jimmy. He was explaining what makes Jimmy good and why is Jimmy good. And he basically was going on that tangent. He's like, we're not done with Jimmy because he's not good at football. And you're like, whoa, rewind that. You're not done with Jimmy because this. I was like, this guy literally just said why he's done with Jimmy. He literally said it. In that press conference. I caught it a week ago. I've been marinating on it for a week on top of all this information from the podcast and just thinking about it. Like, he really said that. I don't think he meant to say that, but he said it. He said, we're done with Jimmy because. And I was like, oh. And that's one of the things about Kyle. Even when he's doing his coach speak, he does tend to kind of show his cards a little bit. And so we keep going into, the podcast. We're bouncing all over the place, but we go back to the podcast. So again, we're piecing everything together. That quote, 49ers are at 3, they're getting a quarterback. So what he kept talking about was being able to do it without hesitation. Quote, no thought, blinking and going. Matt Ryan, in an interview with Kyle Shanahan, when they were discussing plays, they were watching film. That's what Matt Ryan was saying. He's like, I put in all this preparation into the week. I think about it, and I'm scrutinizing every detail. But when game time comes, I just play. I get in the zone. Kyle thinks that's for him to think. I just get in the zone and play. And Kyle would go back and forth and being like, yeah, that's what I love about Matt. That's what I love. He doesn't get flustered by me. He's just calm in the zone and all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh. Light bulb for me. Trey Lance is calm, cool, collected, low blood pressure, all of that. That's what Trey Lance is. And everything that I've seen from Trey Lance since he's been drafted, trying to understand who Trey Lance is as a person, that's who Trey Lance is. And one quote from Trey's mom after he was drafted that I thought was really impactful to speak to Trey's character is she said, "Your superpower, Trey, is bringing people together. Everywhere you go, you have the ability to bring people together." And that was from his mom, and I believed her. I believe her 100%. And so we talk about Jimmy, him being up and down, and then you look at Trey. Trey, I think, is literally as even as they come for a 20-year-old, 21-year-old. He's 21 now. But having that ability at that age, I think that's what Kyle really liked about Trey Lance, because everything that I'm taking away from Kyle Shanahan is he's up and down. He can be like this. So I'm interpreting that as he wants a guy that isn't affected by him being up and down. And I really think Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan, that relationship together, that's where the problem is. Kyle is up and down. He's going to scream at your face and tell you everything you're doing wrong in the moment. But you have to be a quarterback that just takes it on the chin and moves on to the next. You don't get too high. You don't get too low. You don't hold grudges. You don't do anything like that. I really think that's why Kyle is drawn to Trey. I think his personality, the ice in Trey's veins, I think it is going to be the perfect scenario for Kyle Shanahan. Because again, I scout Kyle. I don't think Kyle is the most emotionally intelligent person, and I'm not trying to say that as a knock. He's very smart and he's very logistical and like bang, bang, bang. Those type of people aren't always emotionally intelligent because they're so focused on what they're doing. They're not aware of how their vibe is permeating onto others. So I really think Kyle, and again, based on listening to that podcast, knowing everything I know, I really think Trey Lance is gonna be what Kyle wants. And so they started talking about too, like being a pocket quarterback versus one of these dual threat guys, right? Because that was the big conversation in the draft. Well, it's not Mac Jones because he can't run. He's a statue. He doesn't move, blah, 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 right? And Kyle Shanahan basically went on to say, yeah, that's basically about right. You know what I mean? Like, let me see if I can find the thing. He's basically saying, like, human nature will take over and your nerves will, and you'll just try to survive. And that's not what you want from a play caller, not what you want from a leader, not what you want from anyone in that situation. You want someone who is prepared and does what they think is best with a clear mind. So again, I'm sorry, my handwriting kind of sucks. But essentially what Kyle Shanahan is saying in this quote from the podcast, again, is back to the clear mind, back to the nerves, back to being emotional or lack thereof. And he's talking about what quarterbacks need to have. And I really think that's what Trey is and what he's found in Trey. He goes on to say some other things, but one of the things that I thought was pretty interesting was talking about how they maneuvered through the 2019 season. Basically, he's basically saying, like, he was like, our offense could just wait and be patient because we had a special defense and they allowed us to run the football and they allowed us to do a lot of things to take a lot of pressure off Jimmy Garoppolo. He's like, we only had to rely on Jimmy a handful of times because our defense wasn't playing well. So there's only a couple times where our offense had to put it on our shoulders. And I'm like, okay, well, a rookie could do that. And you look back at the 2019 year, you look at how they manage everything. You look at how they manage Jimmy coming off the knee injury. And again, that was Jimmy's first year. Jimmy had never played a full season. So it's kind of like Jimmy was a rookie as well. And they went 13-3 and went to the Super Bowl and almost won it. But I think a lot of what Kyle's talking about, human nature will take over and so will your nerves, is basically what he's saying. He's like, some people try to survive that, and that's not what you want as a play caller. You don't want your quarterback trying to survive and make it through the nerves. So again, I think that's why he liked Trey so much, because I think Trey's got ice in his veins. So again, that whole podcast really, really made me feel like this is Trey's job. It really, really made me feel like the only reason Jimmy Garoppolo is here is because they can't trade him. Kyle Shanahan spoke to this directly at a press conference. He said, well, you know how good Jimmy Garoppolo is, because let's call a spade a spade. If Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, he's a top 20 quarterback. I think there's plenty of teams in the NFL right now that want a top 20 quarterback. But the problem is his availability, and two, his money. And also the perception that plays a part too. So I think that's really really big part of this is I don't think they're keeping Jimmy Garoppolo because they want to. I think if it was Kyle's choice, Jimmy would have been traded already. Excuse me. But like I said, like he's already spoke to directly, he recognizes that Jimmy is an asset. And you don't just let assets go, especially the quarterback position, especially if you have a starter. And he said that. He said straight up. He said, we're not letting Jimmy go for peanuts. That's literally what he said. So a lot of people in this conversation that keeps stirring up around the quarterback position, I'm very adamant about thinking Trey Lance is a legitimate shot to win. I'm not saying Trey Lance is going to start week 1. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying like bang the table, bang, bang, bang. Trey Lance is starting week 1 no matter what. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there is a narrative that Jimmy Garoppolo is here for a reason. I don't believe that narrative is true. That's all I'm saying. I don't believe Jimmy Garoppolo is here for a reason. And if we want to talk about reasoning, the reasoning is because no one wants to trade for him and they're not going to cut him. Because guess what? They made it through the entire offseason with Jimmy's cap number on the books. They added Trent. They brought back Trent Williams, Juice, Verrett, brought in Ebukam, brought in a bunch of guys. Paid their guys. And Jimmy's still here, holding down a $24 million cap hit. So that's, and then we go back. We go back to Kyle looking for that bridge. Kyle looking for Andy Dalton. Kyle looking to get a Joe Flacco. Remember, Joe Flacco was in the building. Joe Flacco was in our building. So, like, you guys remember? They're not keeping Trey, Jimmy, and Joe Flacco. That's not what they're doing. So, again, how I'm taking this entire offseason is Kyle Shanahan. I told you, I recognized in the Dolphins game in 2020 that something was not right between those two. I said, oh, no, there's something off. I'm a big vibe guy. Big vibe. I scout off vibe. It's weird. I don't know how to express it. I don't know if it's because I played and I watched a lot and I was playing with the mindset of I want to coach one day or I want to scout one day. So I paid attention to every player development, watched my own teammates develop and how they developed and why they developed and how the coaches interact. I paid attention to all of that. And you just look at this situation and it just really feels like it's more of a situation about not being able to find a trade partner. It's more of a situation about not being able to just get out from under Jimmy, because I can guarantee you, based on this entire offseason, based on everything that has played out in the last 7 to 8 months, I doubt Kyle Shanahan wants this cloud of Jimmy Garoppolo still over his head as we head into the season. So what I'm halfway expecting is they're waiting for an injury. I think they're waiting for an injury. They're waiting for a quarterback to go down in camp, because what I think we're working with and what we've been working with all offseason with Jimmy Garoppolo is the supply and demand model. That's what it was. It was the supply and the demand. Quarterbacks were on the move. Carson Wentz got moved. Teddy Bridgewater got moved. Sam Darnold got moved. Deshaun Watson would have gotten moved if he didn't get into his issue. Aaron Rodgers is about to get moved after he just declined a contract extension. Quarterbacks are on the move. There's no problem anymore trading quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks like Sam Darnold, who was the number 3 overall pick just in 2018. And that team said, you know what? You're 23 years. Sam Darnold's 23 years old right now. And they said, yeah, no, we're done with you, Sam. And we're on to Zach Wilson. I think that's the same sentiment about Jimmy Garoppolo. If Jimmy Garoppolo, a trade partner, materialized, I guarantee you'd not be on this team. For being a part of trade talks for as long as he's been, for how the last year ended with him not playing, the 49ers trading their future to go up and get Trey Lance, again, a quarterback who can run Kyle's scheme day one. Based on all accounts of what Kyle Shanahan looks for in a quarterback and how he scouts a quarterback, which, again, you scout a quarterback through his mind, how he sees the field, how he reacts to high-pressure situations, because that's what it is. That's what being a quarterback is. It doesn't matter how good your arm is. That's why I've always been so down on Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold might have the best arm in the NFL. He might. But up here, it doesn't connect. I watched him live against Cal. I watched him throw 3 terrible boneheaded picks against Cal. And I also watched him make some of the greatest throws I've ever seen. But again, what are you scouting? Are you scouting only his ability? Or are you scouting his ability to see the field? Are you scouting his ability to handle high-pressure situations? Are you scouting his ability to play with a clear mind over nerves? Everything Kyle talked about in that podcast. And that's what Trey Lance is. I think Trey Lance is actually going to unlock Kyle Shanahan. It's kind of an interesting take, but like I said, I'm a big vibe guy, big on emotional intelligence, big on psychology, big on sports psychology, all of that. I think Kyle found his guy to even him out. I think that's what he found. He found a guy that he could yell at, scream at, berate, and Trey Lance just going to be like, okay, great. I hear you, coach. On to the next. Let's do it. I really think Trey is that one of those kinds of guys, and I think it's going to bring out the best in Kyle. I really believe that. I really believe Trey Lance, again, what Kyle is looking for when talking about all the intangibles, Trey has that. And that's where Jimmy's lacking. So you see the two guys. You see what makes one good and why one is getting moved on from. Jimmy has ability. Jimmy has a very quick release. He is accurate when he's in the zone, clear mind. And dude, when Jimmy's in the zone, Jimmy is good. We've seen it. But the problem is consistency. And you're measured as a football player by how consistently great you are. It doesn't matter if you're great for a couple plays. It doesn't matter if you're great for 3 quarters. You got to be great for the whole game. You got to be great for the whole season. You got to be great for your whole career if you want to be known as being great. But if you're inconsistent, you're up and you're down, like Kyle Shanahan talked about, that makes it really hard. That makes it really hard. So with all that being said, that's why I feel in my heart like this isn't like me. Then that's why Twitter is really weird place. Twitter is a really weird place right now. I don't hang out on Twitter. The most I've ever hung out on Twitter has been this last 6 months, this offseason. So I joke about it all the time. I used to pop up, into Twitter because I'm an IG guy. That's where our brand was built, was on IG. So when I pop on Twitter and I would see my guys that I follow just like I'm seeing their final tweet, which is like a summarization of what they just fought. Basically, you had your non-Jimmy supporters and your Jimmy supporters, and they just go at each other. I wasn't a part of it. Like I said, I supported Jimmy. We're a pro player brand. I don't know how many times I need to say it. We promote and we advocate for the players. It's just how it works. That's our model. We aren't going to be totally crazy critical all the time. We're going to look on the other side of the page. We're going to look at it from their perspective. That's just how our brand works. So that's how I operated. And then I'm doing my personal stuff now where I'm more active on my personal page and I'm putting how I feel. I'm like, I'm not the only one who lived this last 8 months, 9 months. So I'm putting it out there. I'm like, look, here's information. Look, here's more information. And people just don't want to hear it. They don't want to see it. And they just tell me like, oh, you're just, look, another guy trying to take down Jimmy. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm literally just, Kyle said something and I'm sharing it. So it's a weird situation. Twitter's weird. It's really weird. But I understand it. And I'm starting to see that come back at me. But honestly, at the end of the day, I can only go off of how I observe, off how I scout. I'm scouting Kyle. I don't think people understand that. I scout Kyle. Every move Kyle makes, I'm connecting it to his past. I'm trying to understand, well, why you said this here? Well, what about that there? And that's the thing with Kyle. He has his coach speak, but you get to him, he opens up and he tells you exactly how he's feeling. He really does. So that's why going into week 1, I keep saying it's a true competition. That doesn't mean Trey Lance starts week 1. That's not what that means. But what it means is Kyle's not keeping Jimmy Garoppolo here because he needs this guy for this reason to help X, Y, and Z, like I keep being told. It's like, just look at the actions. Look at what he's saying. Look at what he's doing. Everything will point you into the right direction. And that direction is that Trey Lance has a legitimate opportunity to start week 1. That's just a fact of the matter. And a lot of people are going to reject that notion because, again, they've been waging these battles, defending Jimmy Garoppolo for years, and they have their own scars and their own wounds that have developed off the back of talking about someone that has nothing to do with them. But it happened, and this is where we're at. So we'll see. And I didn't even get to this part, But Sean, so when I talked about that quote I posted today on Twitter, where Kyle basically alludes to the team moving on from Jimmy the day that they were drafted, or the day they traded up to number 3, and Kyle spoke at that press conference. Sean McVay said something extremely similar on the podcast, and it came from Sean's mouth. Didn't come from Kyle's mouth. It came from Sean's mouth, and it was said in the same exact way that Kyle said it, that press conference, where he said, we're not done with Jimmy because he can't play, which is an admission of them being done with Jimmy. I don't think people understand that. When you say, well, I'm done with corn dogs because, or I'm not done with corn dogs because, this, so X, Y, and Z, I'm done with them because they make me fat. You're still admitting that you're done with them for a certain reason. And that's what he said. He said, I'm done with Jimmy, not because of that reason. I'm done with him because of this reason. And Sean McVay went on to say, again, Sean McVay said this on the podcast, and it just went, because I think the connotation matters. And this is what Sean McVay said. He said, and this was right after Kyle got done talking about, what makes a good quarterback, what it takes mentally, physically, going through the whole situation about being nerves, calm, all that kind of stuff. And Sean McVay goes, that's why you're excited about your guy. Let me say that again. That's why you're excited about your guy. You also said, hey, doesn't mean that's exclusively how you have to win, because look at what you've done with Jimmy. Should I run that back? Again, they're talking about what makes a great quarterback. The attributes, intangibles, physical skills, mental skills, all of it. Kyle just gets done going on a rant about how you need to be smart up here, ice in your veins, in the zone, all that stuff. And Sean McVay says, that's why you're excited about your guy, period. You've also said, hey, doesn't mean that's exclusively how you have to win, because look at what you've done with Jimmy. What? He said, Sean McVay says it for you right there. That's why you're excited about your guy. Well, Kyle, your guy's Trey. We know this because you drafted him in the 3rd round. You traded the future of the franchise to get to Trey. Well, guess what? Sean McVay said, that's why you're again, they just got done talking about what makes a great quarterback. And Sean says, well, that's why you're excited about Trey. Because he's like that. He has all those attributes. Zone, ice in his veins, no nerves, calm, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. And of course, we don't need to talk about the physical attributes that Trey has. We know that. We've known that since day one. He's an Adonis. He's got the size. He's got the arm. He's got everything. We don't need to worry about the physical traits. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the intangible. The intangible, which is the hardest thing to scout. Scouting the person is the hardest thing to scout. And Sean McVay says, that's why you're excited about Trey. But then the also tells you right away. That's why you're excited about Trey, but you've also said, hey, doesn't mean that's exclusively how you have to win, meaning you have to have a guy like Trey to be able to win exclusively. And goes on to say, look what you've done with Jimmy. And Kyle's like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, man, people just gloss right over it. Just gloss right over it. Whoop, right over the head. And then he goes on to say, You've done that with Jimmy or the other QBs you've played with, and that is what good coaches figure out. That's what good coaches figure out. Sean said it. Kyle said it. Kyle said it multiple times. Kyle, in what he's looking for in a quarterback, he's saying it as he's telling you what he's looking for in a quarterback. And then Sean ties it up with a pretty little bow. And that's why you're excited about Trey. But you've talked about all those things that you're looking for in the perfect quarterback. That's not exclusive to winning. Look at what you did with Jimmy. And goes on to basically give Kyle a compliment by saying the good coaches figure that out. The good coaches figure out how to work around Jimmy Garoppolo's and Jared Goff's is essentially what Sean McVay is saying. So, again, it's been a long year. It's been a long offseason. I don't have this as like just a nice little piece like of fun stuff. Like, this has become a real thing for a reason, because there's so many narratives. There's so much conflicting information back and forth and blah, 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 blah. That's why you need this. This protects you because, again, it's so easy to be pulled in a direction based on a narrative because we don't have the information. We aren't in these meetings. We aren't talking to these guys. So if Schefter says, "Oh, this is what we're hearing," we're kind of like, "Oh, that's what we're hearing." And it's like, no, just watch. Just follow it. They show you their hands. You just have to pay attention, and you have to be able to look through the stuff that they try and trick you with, the smoke and mirrors, like Raheem Mostert referred to. So again, I'm an hour 12 into my super long-winded rant about Kyle Shanahan, the quarterback situation, what it means to training camp. I guess I'll talk a little bit more about what it means to training camp. So again, the only thing that's going to stop Trey Lance from starting, in my opinion, is his mastery of the offense. And again, like what I keep talking about, shout out Jordan, dude. Me and that dude. Oh, Jordan, working for Niners Nation now. Woo! Dude, the squad is leveling up. I'm proud of the squad. But Jordan, what was I going to say about Jordan? Damn it. I forgot. I got sidetracked by a squirrel, and I forgot what I was going to say. Damn it. Man, what was Jordan going to say? I forgot. My fault. I think there was a good point there, but I forgot it. Happens. Yeah, I think it had to do with training camp, right? We were getting into training camp. We were talking about how everything translates to training camp. Dang it. I can't remember. I was trying to bring it back. But essentially, as we head into training camp and we take in all this information and we look at the landscape, we look at Kyle Shanahan, we look at everything, we look at the scheme, you look at the offense, prototypical kind of pro-style offense, in the sense where the personnel groupings have tight end fullback, you play under center, you're pretty much your pass game is predicated off turning your back to a defense, which I really don't think people understand how difficult that is. And that is a learned skill. Play action is a learned skill. Trey Lance. Oh, I remember what I was saying. Me and Jordan watched Trey Lance till like 12 o'clock in the morning for hours one day, or like after the draft. And we were just in awe of the scheme that Trey was executing as a 19-year-old. And I'm watching the scheme. I'm watching North Dakota State. I'm not just watching Trey. I'm watching what they're doing. Their run action off of play action, like off of, ghost motion and all these different kinds of things in one play. I'm like, this is Kyle's offense. This is like the college version of Kyle's offense. And we're geeking out because we're like, holy hell, look at Trey. He's executing everything that Kyle asks our guys to do. You have run action to the left, but you've got a wide receiver in motion, and you fake handoff, to the wide receiver, and then you do a naked boot, and everything's moving to the right, but he's like, it is so similar. And one of the things, again, of having this Instagram account, it gives me access to so many people. One of the access it gave me to is Trey Lance's quarterback coach. I've been picking Trey Lance's quarterback coach about Trey Lance since January. Anytime I saw something on tape with Trey from a mechanic standpoint, I would DM his quarterback coach that he'd been working with since October and be like, am I seeing this right? Because, for example, when Trey would roll out to his right, he has a super powerful arm, but when he was on the move and throwing, he would be inaccurate at times and the ball would die on him. And I'm like, I just don't see that being an issue of his arm. To me, it looks like his feet are a little bit mixed up. He's not getting his base under him. He's not driving through his feet to his hips, to his arm, and the ball's not coming out as it should. Am I reading that correctly? And that's how we got started talking. And he's telling me about what I'm seeing and how he's seeing it and what they're trying to correct and what he's working on. But in that conversation, he was like, people don't realize what Trey was asked to do in that offense. Trey Lance called all the protections for the offensive line at the line of scrimmage. So if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you're not doing that because your center does that. In the NFL, the center is like the quarterback of the offensive line. So the center takes on the responsibility of being the quarterback of the offensive line. They call the protections. And if you're not familiar with protections, there are 4 guys sliding one way every single time. It's either left or to the right. Ricky, Lucy. Someone is calling the protection at the line, and it's based on where the mic is. That's why the center walks up to the line, and he goes, 54 is a mic, 54 is a mic. Well, sometimes Mike, middle linebacker, isn't always going to be the middle linebacker. Sometimes it's going to be the safety. Sometimes it's going to be a nickel. It all depends on the alignment. It all depends on which side has which side is heavy set. So that's what the center does. Center comes up, scans the field, which side's the heavy side, which guy is actually in the middle of the field. If that's the safety, hey, 29's a mic or 54 is a mic. Then they go, well, 54 is a mic. We're overloaded right. Ricky, we're going right. We're pass setting to the right. So then the 4 guys from, let's say we're going to the right, it would be left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. They're moving in unison to the right. The tackle stays home. The tackle is on an island, and he's responsible for the backside. He's one-on-one. That's why tackle is hard. That's why you get paid a lot of money to be tackle, because you're alone sometimes. Trey doesn't have to do that. He did that, though. He did that in college as a 19-year-old. And so what his quarterback coach would tell me is not only is he coming to the line, calling protections, identifying the mic, deciding which side these offensive linemen need to go, because he's calling a protection for himself. He's telling the O-line what to do based on what the defense is giving him. Then he's reading his wide receivers. He's reading coverage to determine what option routes they're running. And then he gets under center, takes a snap, turns his back to the defense, and finds his guy. People don't understand how difficult that is. Just those concepts in of itself. When I was playing center, me and my quarterback, we would every day, like clockwork, we were the first guys out on the field because we were practicing our under center snaps. We took snaps all the time in practice every day. That didn't change the fact that we still went out 15 minutes before practice to work on our snaps, because taking a snap under center is a learned skill. You need a lot of practice and it takes a lot of time. Something like a guy like Mac Jones, who played 10 snaps under center last year, he has to learn that. He has to completely learn how to take a snap under center. Appreciate you, Logan. Logan says Trey's winning job in camp. Could be. But that's what I'm saying. So Trey Lance, as a 19-year-old, has mastered all the small nuances of playing the quarterback position. At 19 years old. And again, you think FCS and you automatically discredit them. Automatically discredit FCS. And I understand why. I get it. It's not D1. Not a ton of NFL talents coming out of the FCS. But North Dakota State's different. They do it differently. They run their scheme based on running their scheme. And they fit players into it and not the other way around, which is why you see a lot of college teams in spread doing those kinds of things, because it's easier to fit people in. It's not as hard and complex to learn and master. Trey Lance, man, he knows. I think he knows how to do this. I really think the only thing that he's fighting is verbiage. He's got to learn the language. Again, you're just like I said, I called out Ricky Lucy. It could be Rocky Lucky. Like, it means the same thing, because right, Ricky, left, Lucy. It could literally mean the same thing, but it's just different words. It's different verbiage. I think that might be the biggest thing that he has to learn, is just, what do we call this? And what does it mean? And how do I relate it to what I already know and change that to what now is my normal? So again, looking at the scheme, looking at what Trey did in college at North Dakota State in a prototypical, it's not even prototypical, because I wouldn't say Kyle's scheme is prototypical, but that scheme at North Dakota State looks a lot like Kyle's. You know what I'm talking about. It's running one play that looks like three different plays, and then being able to use that concept to run different plays based on, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, their system matches what Kyle does. And you take the system awareness, you take the system mastering on top of Trey's intangible, on top of Trey's measurable. Dude, I don't know how Jimmy wins. How does Jimmy win? How does Jimmy start week 1? If you sat here for the last hour and 24 minutes, first of all, you deserve a cookie, you deserve a reward, you deserve some kind of medal. But if you have listened to this entire thing, objectively, of course, you're going to have your own opinions, but do you really think Jimmy Garoppolo has a real solid shot to compete and win this job? Like, I think a lot of people assume it is Jimmy's job. It's Trey's to win, and it's Jimmy's job. I'm kind of the opposite. Again, I just went through all my reasons why I think it's different. But how can you not think Trey Lance has the upper hand in this battle? This is Trey's job. Jimmy Garoppolo is not the future of the 49ers. That's crystal clear. So if your guy in Trey Lance is ready to go now, why would you put Jimmy in? Why? And so that's the thing. If Trey comes in with the last 2 months mastering this offense, again, Kyle Shanahan said they threw the entire playbook at him. He picked it up right away. That translates into someone being ready to compete. I base my pro ready meter on how well you can master a scheme. It has nothing to do with your physical attributes. I think a lot of people mix those two up. Pro ready has nothing to do with how physically gifted you are. Being pro ready is how you mentally acclimate to the NFL game and transfer from the college game to the NFL game. That is pro ready. Being able to master a scheme that you're learning new as a rookie, that's pro ready. And that's what Trey Lance is. Trey Lance was arguably the most pro ready quarterback in this class. So Santos said it great. Great. I think this is it. It's Trey's job to win, not Jimmy's to lose, because Jimmy already lost this job. I think people don't understand that. Jimmy lost this job in December. Jimmy lost this job when Kyle tried to go after Matthew Stafford. Jimmy lost this job when they tried to go get Deshaun Watson. Jimmy lost this job when they tried to get Joe Flacco. Jimmy lost this job when they tried to get Andy Dalton. Jimmy lost this job when they tried to get Sam Darnold. And I just think people have a really hard time wrapping their head around that. And they just assume that because he's here, that means there's some grand master plan for him to start this year. And I don't think that's the case. And again, this is I'm observing other actions, and I'm funneling it to make sense in my brain. So we're going to see, is Jimmy going to come out and compete? He already hung him up once. So is he going to come out and compete again? I don't know. We're about to find out. And so that's why I think this whole thing with this narrative surrounding Jimmy Garoppolo, of him being the quarterback to start week 1, and how could you think Trey Lance could start week 1? I literally just laid it all out for you. Just laid it all. If you're just joining us, this will be on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing back. We're hour 30 in, and I just went back through the last 7-8 months. So that's it. That's what it comes down to. Jimmy's on borrowed time. So I can't feel like I'm putting out a smart take or a smart observation by saying, yeah, Trey Lance doesn't have a chance to really start week 1. It's Jimmy's job. They're going to bring Trey on slowly. Maybe he gets in the beginning of the year. Maybe they'll run some packages, have him on the field at the same time. Like, what? Why? Why would you think that? After this entire offseason, what makes you think that Kyle Shanahan has any plans for Jimmy Garoppolo other than to trade him or cut him? I just, unless you can again, this is coming from someone who's always had Jimmy's back. I've always had Jimmy's back. Always had Jimmy's back. Whenever the opportunity arose, I'm there. I got freezing cold taped because of Jimmy. I got put on that damn account because of Jimmy, because I was defending my guy. But at a certain point, I'm here to observe, analyze, and understand. And that's my takeaway. So I think week 1 is up for grabs. Again, not saying that it is Trey Lance that's going to start week 1, but that's what I keep saying. I think y'all need to pay attention to that. This is a competition at the least, at the most, whatever. Like, this isn't Jimmy's job. This is Trey's job. I think people have that mixed up. Jimmy is a security blanket right now. If Trey isn't ready, let's say Trey does struggle with the playbook, does struggle getting up to speed, then you don't have to put a guy into a situation where you're going to set him back mentally. And that's really what I think it is. And if Trey Lance comes in week 1 or into training camp, masters the playbook, is making plays, and it's not going to happen in training camp. It's going to happen in preseason. That's why I keep saying this preseason is the most important preseason of my lifetime for the 49ers, is because we're going to understand if Trey Lance is going to start week 1 or not. And that's all going to happen based on preseason. And we know how it works. If we see a good share of both Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance in the preseason, again, another indicator that this is a true competition. If it was just going to be Jimmy, they would just do their standard, trot out the starters for their couple series, bring them out, backups, which is probably how it's going to start, because it's going to give Trey Lance a ton of experience that he needs, because he hasn't played real football in a long time. So Trey's going to need those reps, and I think he's going to get them all. And when he does get them all, and he shows what he's capable of, and if he shows that he's competent and has the ability to do everything that Jimmy does plus more as a rookie in preseason, I'm sorry. I don't see how Jimmy makes it. I don't see how Jimmy starts over that. I don't see how you take the entire offseason, Trey Lance playing well in preseason, and still feeling confident that you can say Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter week 1. So I'm not confident saying that Trey Lance is going to be the starter week 1. I'm not confident that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter week 1, because I don't know. I think it's a true competition. So when we get, again, the question is who's QB1 for the 49ers? The answer is Trey Lance. Trey Lance is QB1. It's just a matter of when does Trey Lance become QB1? Does he become QB1 week 1? Does he become QB1 after the bye? When does that happen? And I think it happens sooner rather than later, or at least the opportunity to happen is there sooner rather than later. And I'm just saying. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with my thought processes. You can feel free to let me know. If you think I'm heading down the right path, you think I'm crazy person. I've been called a Jimmy hater. That's new. I've actually been called a Jimmy hater quite a bit. That's really new for me. Because like I said, I've always been there to defend Jimmy. But I'm not. What am I defending? I'm not defending anything. All I'm telling you guys is what I've seen, what I've heard, and the actions that have played out in front of me the last 7 months, and what that means to me. Doesn't mean I still like Jimmy. But that's what it comes down to, in my opinion. So that's why I'm really excited for this camp to kick off, because we're going to have a lot of competition at a lot of positions. Look at what's happening to Raheem, man. Look what's happened to Raheem. Like, I love Raheem, but I could see a situation where this front office trades him. I was scared about that happening. Which situation? The Julio Jones trade scenario. Because if you looked at Atlanta's running backs, they had no one. They have Mike Davis and a bunch of randoms. And so I was like, oh God, if we're going after Julio, like they might send over Raheem in return. I was like, I'm nervous about that. So I've already been nervous about Raheem being traded. Matt Mayoko, who does a lot of that kind of stuff, he'll leak stuff like that ahead to kind of precondition. Doesn't make me feel great because he makes a good point. I know what the point he's talking about. I know what he's saying. It just hurts. I don't want Raheem to go anywhere. I love Raheem. Great supporter of me, the page. So, like I said, we're advocates. We are on these guys' back. We're paired with these players, and we go through all of this through that lens for a reason, because I was a player. 49ers Ultimate Report says, shout out to SF Niners. We may agree to disagree about the QB1 situation. I have been saying Jimmy start week 1, but week 2 to 18, no one knows. I respect you as well. 49ers Ultimate Report. Thank you for the donation. I really do appreciate it. And even if we agree to disagree, I think what Ultimate is getting to here is essentially the same thing that I'm saying. It's like, okay, he's more of the, all right, Trey's going to start or Jimmy's going to start week 1. That's not a debate. It's not a question. It's just the nature of how it's going to be. And he could very well be right. That could just be how it is. We just trot Jimmy out, week 1, try to get his trade value up, try to get him. I don't know. We don't know. But what he's saying is after that, he has no idea. So I think we're more on the same page than you think, Ultimate. But again, I appreciate the donation and the question, and I understand where you're coming from. I totally do. I get it. So how about this? So I've been talking a lot. You guys are in the chat. There's still a couple of you guys hanging around. Tell me right now in the chat. I'll pull them onto the screen. Who starts week 1 for the San Francisco 49ers? Is it Trey Lance or is it Jimmy Garoppolo? If you want to put it into the comments, I will pull them up. Alejandro says Trey Lance starts week 1. Son? Ooh, Alex says JG all the way. Jimmy G starting week 1 for Alex. Brunil says Trey Lance is going to start week 1. So, we're pretty evened up right now. Oh, we got another Trey. DJ Wilson says Trey. Chasing Gold says that Jimmy G thing is going to be starting week 1. Rob says he thinks Jimmy's going to start, but he wants Lance to. So he's using his mind over what he wants in his heart, and we respect that because that's hard to do sometimes. Sometimes you gotta override what you want for what you think, and that can be difficult. Peyton is saying Trey wins it in preseason again, which is where I think this competition is won and lost. So I hear where you're coming from, Peyton. We got Nathan on Facebook saying Jimmy G starts week 1, no question. Say it with your chest, man. Also, look at that beard. Whew. Look at that beard. Nathan, I'm proud of you. That thing is beautiful. It looks very gingerish as well. So salute to you, good sir. You are a proud member of the Ginger Beard Gang. You just are automatically in. That's it. Because your beard's great. Love your beard. And the beard wants Jimmy G. Week 1, no question. Ty says Trey Bay. M says if we don't cut Jimmy by week 1, that's 27 mil we can't use, bro. That's why I wrote back in January that I don't see how Jimmy's on this team on the season, but we'll find out. We really will. We really will find out. I don't know if the 49ers, because again, if the 49ers get out of Jimmy right now, they get 20 million cleared off the books instantly. Instant 20 mil in their bank account to spend on other positions. So I don't know. Jeremy says, ooh, and we love the graphic. Look at the profile picture. See that logo? Oh, yeah, we like that, Jeremy. Good stuff. Good profile picture. Jeremy says Trey, week 1. Jojo says Trey. Michael says Jimmy G for sure. Brunel says, I just feel Trey will really impress the front office during training camp and in preseason, and that's how he could beat out Jimmy. Brad Jelly, no idea what that means, but I like it. You don't touch my Mosterati. Leave my Mosterati parked where it is. Leave him alone. We want to keep Mosterati here. Don't send him away. Oh, we got it up there again. Yes, fear the beard. Must be very, very afraid. Juan says Trey area. Emmanuel says Jimmy starts week 1, but Trey will finish the season. Cut Jimmy, extend Warner, and more. Oh, man. And Alec, I appreciate that, man. We're going to be heading in that direction. Once the season is here, we will most likely be live every day. We will most likely be having a podcast every day. Or not every day, I'm sorry. Once a week. I'm going to try and get in-season player interviews, which is going to be a little tricky. But we'll see. I have 2 guys. I'll tell you now, since you guys are chilling with me for this long. Dakota Shepley, who is a center on our team. We're going to go live tomorrow. He's got a really interesting story. I know it doesn't sound like I know some of you are probably like, who's that? Who's Dakota Shepley? He was a CFL guy we signed at the beginning of last year. He made his way to the active roster by the end of the year, and he's been working really, really damn hard. And I think he has an opportunity to make this team as a backup center. But he has a great story. He's a great story. He's Canadian. He's from just a different view on football and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm super excited to talk to him, and he's super dope dude. So we got Dakota tomorrow, and then I don't think we've confirmed a time yet, but we've confirmed that we're doing it. Let me just make sure that he hasn't confirmed the time. He hasn't confirmed the time yet, but he's confirmed we're probably going to do it on Thursday. The rivers flow with the Craycraft. We are bringing River Craycraft on to get the Craycraft train headed in the right direction. River Craycraft, wide receiver for the 49ers, has been working a ton with Trey Lance. He will be on Thursday. So I got 2 players back-to-back, Wednesday, Thursday. Really excited to talk to these guys because, again, Dakota is just a super dope person that I think a lot of people are going to get a kick out of him and his personality. And then we're going to have River Craycraft, who's competing for a lot of snaps this year, that wide receiver 3 position. He's going to be able to give us some insight into what he's been doing. And like I said, I think he might be the wide receiver that's worked with Trey Lance the most out of any of our guys. And that is even pre-draft, before he was a Niner. I think they were working together. So I'm really excited to get his insight on as he's going into camp. So that's going to be dope. We're going to have 2 players. Tomorrow's Dakota Shepley, center for the 49ers. And then after that, Thursday, River Craycraft, wide receiver, 49ers. It's going to be fun. Ask him if Trey underthrew it so people stop hating. I know what you're talking about. People are taking this narrative because Trey threw a deep ball and River Craycraft, who's very fast, adjusted his speed to the ball placement, which was basically dropping down a gear for like 4 steps to catch the ball. And people are saying that he was underthrown. I think it's silly. Wide receivers adjust to the football all the time. And he adjusted enough and just geared down just a little bit to still make it a pass he caught in stride. So to me, an underthrown ball is when you have to literally turn or change your route to accommodate the pass. He just dropped down a gear once he saw the ball. That was it. So I think that's funny, but I'm not going to ask him that because it's not worthy of a question. Because it's just a silly notion. But yeah, that's what we got coming in the next couple days. And like I talked about, we're going to be picking these up much, much more as the season gets closer, as preseason gets closer. We're going to be looking at it all. So again, I appreciate everyone who stuck it out. If you stuck it out the whole time, props to you. You deserve a pat on the back. Thank you to everyone, as always, for watching, commenting. Everyone who comments really makes these a lot of fun. I love the interaction. I love hearing your guys' thoughts. Even if you don't like my opinion, I still like hearing your thoughts and all the crap that I'm saying. And I'm not always right, so I love the back and forth that we have. I'm starting to notice a lot of the repeat watchers, and like Chasing Gold is here quite a bit. Bebop Jones, I've seen you around quite a bit, and it's Jason. It's really cool to kind of see you guys come back, and we're kind of building something here. So again, thank you guys as always. I got to do the YouTube thing. Please like this video. Please subscribe. Means a lot. Shout out to all my guys who've made the donations. You guys freaking kick ass. I appreciate you a lot. So it's going to be a fun year. I'm super excited. Super excited to, again, bring you guys more content, bring you guys more athletes with the 49ers. I'm going to start bringing other content creators on here, and we're going to do that whole thing. But we're a slow ramp up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, thank you guys as always. You guys have a great rest of your day.